We're back with Lirac. Patrick, I worked on that for hours in front of the mirror. And hopefully I hammered it. That we crushed it with that. I think more viewers are already watching because of that. Okay. Well, hello, all of you that weren't watching before we did that. Chateau de, Ségriès. I think I said that right. Chateau de Ségriès. Another perennial Winex house favorite Rhone wine. We've been working with this winery for, I think I can say decades now. I think it's decades. And one of the early gems from the portfolio of Frank Casella, master sommelier and importer, who has an enviable arsenal of wines at his command. And Ségriès is one of the great value wines in his portfolio. This comes from Lirac. So let's talk about Lirac for a second, because I'm not sure, we've maybe addressed it once or twice, but Lirac is one of the most unheralded, underrated appellations in the southern Rhone Valley. This is an area that is to the west of Châteauneuf-du-Pape and shares a lot of the same gravelly soils, might be a few more heavier soils here, maybe a little less sand. Syrah tends to play maybe once occasionally a little bigger role here, as it does say in the appellations of like Chateau and Vinsaube. Because these heavier soils, the Syrah likes the heavy soil and makes the wine a little more chutzpah. And accordingly, these wines have always been like kind of the fusion, the synthesis of Grenache and Syrah mostly, with a little Mourvèdre in there. And Domaine de la Morteray, also in the Casella portfolio, really put Lirac on the map 15, 20 years ago with some brilliant Lirac wines from under their Reine de Bois label. And Ségriès has a close connection with those guys. They've been in the same portfolio forever, learn from each other, talk to each other. And accordingly, when these guys nail one, it tends to be almost like Morteray level. And when we talk about Lirac, flavor-wise, stylistically, like kind of Côte de Rhone on steroids. Occasionally, I don't get quite the Châteauneuf-du-Pape thing. Like it almost feels a little warmer in Châteauneuf than it does in Lirac for whatever reason. I don't know the exact temperatures, but in general, the Châteauneufs tend to have more of a warmer kind of baking spice character to them, and the Lirac wines tend to be more vertical, more on point, maybe because of that Syrah in the blend. Anyway, the Ségriès 2022 Lirac, and by the way, pay attention, this is the Cuvée Réservée. They do a straight Lirac as well, which looks alarmingly similar, but this is the Cuvée Réservée. This is the groovier one, if you will, from the Ségriès team. What's the blend? Syrah. It is mostly Syrah. Hold on. That's why I got my phone with me. Sorry, I biffed this one. Nope, I take that back. 50 Grenache, 30 Syrah, with the balance Cinsault and Mourvèdre. 50 Grenache, 30 Syrah. That 30 Syrah is pretty typical, I'd say. But here's the deal. Okay, I love tasting the wines on camera because stuff pops aromatically and on the palate that you don't recall at the time that you did the deal. Like when I did the deal, I tasted the wine, I'm like, yeah, this wine's friggin' great, let's do it. But on camera, you'll see some scenarios that pop up, you're like, that's why. And here we go. 2022, the Syrah, in a lot of vintages, the Syrah, even if it's 30% in the wine, can be the overriding component. Syrah has a tendency to dominate the blend. If it's used up to like a 25%, et cetera, type level, like you end up just smelling, tasting Syrah. And the Grenache kind of cowers in the corner a little bit, and you're like, isn't this a Grenache-based wine? Like, come on, Grenache. And a lot of times at that much Syrah, the Grenache will almost take a back seat. It will concede flavor and texture to Syrah. In 2022, and this is not the only wine this has happened, this is a theme, I think, the Syrah is there hanging out, but the Grenache is super punchy in 2022. So what's happening is you get these effusive Grenache flavors, that cran raspberry, that Kirsch character, those urgent red fruits are really popping, but the Syrah this time around is kind of going like, all right, Grenache, yeah, you be you, buddy. I got your back, I'm over here hanging out. And you see this in a lot of the wines of 22. I like the vintage. I stylistically prefer the vintage, maybe more so than a lot of the wines from 2020. Especially these juniors. A lot of the Côte de Rhone wines, The Tardy Laurent, Bec Van Cote de Rhone, was exactly the same way. A lot of Syrah in the blend, but at the end, the Syrah was like, Grenache, you be you. And I adore that because I'm a huge Grenache fan. And this wine does exactly that. Old vines, yeah, probably some old vines, but not necessarily old. In Lirac, there's a lot of like 30 to 50-year-old material. That seems to be kind of like like in Bordeaux, kind of like the average age that we see from Lirac, as opposed to Chateau, more well-established, a lot of sand there, a lot of happy soils. So you get, on average, probably an older vine age in Chateau, I'm guessing, than you do in Lirac. But 30 to 50, that's kind of enough, right? And again, I love the punch in this wine. So beautiful, pure. When these guys get it right, they get it right. And the prices. Here, in the mid palate, the Syrah gives you this nice little pepper streak and this wonderful structural frame, this wonderful little bit of tannin that gives the wine more weight and presence than you think it's going to have based on the aromatics. The wine on the palate almost comes across a bit Chateauneuf-y, the poopy doopy. And that Chateauneuf character really creates the value aspect of this wine. Otherwise, it'd just be a hell of a wine for 20 bucks. But the way the Syrah works with the Grenache in the mid palate, the quality of the vintage and the quality of the producer makes the wine is essentially, I don't know, let's call it like Chateauneuf light, but not really light, just more, even a touch more endearing than some Chateauneufs early on. A absolutely pleasing, gorgeous beverage. 93 points from Dunnuck, huge number from him. Well deserved. I think this is one of the most pleasing, beautiful, captivating Lirac wines I've had in quite some time, and definitely since, say, the Morteray wines from, say, 2016 or something like that. It's been a while since I had a Lirac that's this complex, beautiful, enjoyable, and kind of mimics and feigns the whole kind of Chateauneuf thing. So if you love Chateauneuf, you love Southern Rhone wines, and you don't like paying a ton of money, my gosh, man, the Ségriès Lirac Cuvée Réservée 2022 is for you. Lirac is back.